Okay, hello everybody. Today I wanted to talk about The Last of Us, specifically The Last of Us 2, but we'll start off, where we're going to start off. But yeah, we're going to talk in a whole about the first game, the first season, the second game, and the second season. My main gripes obviously are with the second game and the second season. More with the second season. There's a lot of controversy surrounding the second season right now, and I just gotta say off the bat, I don't understand the hate towards the actors. I don't think we should be hating on the actors. They're just doing their job, and they're doing it damn well. But my gripes all stand with the writing and the directing. Maybe it's the fact that they aren't doing that many revisions. I don't know, whatnot. But like, Josh Peck talked about it recently, and I don't understand the hate behind Josh Peck either. I honestly was delighted to see him in episode 3 personally, and that backstory on Isaac was a need. But let's take a step back real quick, and we'll talk about the first game and season 1, right? This is where I say I believe they repeat, or this is part of the reason why I believe they quote unquote repeated history. The first game struck gold. The writing was really, really good. The pacing was really good. The way the story was laid out was damn near perfect. And they made some characters who are not good nor evil. And in some cases, Joel would be considered the bad guy in a lot of cases. But they were lovable. They were relatable. You know what I'm saying? And this connection that these two characters build and this relationship that they have is just something that I think a lot of people look for, in a sense. But when we get into the second game after the first game, right? It just suffers from bad writing. And not off the bat, but later on, right? And I'm not necessarily talking about the writing itself, but more like with the game, it's more of the directions they took and the way they laid it out. And with the second season, it's just downright the writing. All the way through. It is literally just the writing. Man. So, with the second game, I definitely think it needed to be restructured differently. One, we did not need Joel's death 2 hours into the game. Honestly, that should have been in the latter half of the game, like half to 3/4 of the way through. On God. And I was really hoping that with season 2, that they would have taken some of the die-hard fans, thoughts about the game and built on those. But instead, they decided to listen to the haters. See, when we get into it, right, with the game, there was no council, there was no whatnot in Jackson, right? It was just everybody working together for the community, and it was something that was built by Maria's family. And technically that makes her and Tommy head honchos, but they're doing the same amount of work. And I mean, it's the same way, it's it seems relatively the same way in the TV show, but hold on. See, I loved the way that the beginning of their whole Seattle journey started. I liked that they didn't have enough men to go out, right? Or send a big group to go do this shit. So instead, they're like, nah, we're just going to chill out. We got to stay here. And at first, Tommy is biting with it, yeah, we can't, yada, yada, yada. And then, he kind of lets Ellie coerce him into doing this thing. And he, makes way on his own, which prompts Maria to send Ellie and Dina after them, which then prompts Jesse to go after all three of them. It worked. And I liked that better than what they did. And the only thing I have to say about the way that they did it in the show is that I liked the way that in a way they redeemed Seth's character. See, we only get to see him for like that, you know, minute or two throughout the game, where, you know, he's just a mad bigot and then apologizes about it. But in the show, they developed his character more. You know, that speech was so respectable, even from him. Like, you can dislike somebody and still agree with some of the things they say or do, right? And I agreed with him, and I respect him for standing up and saying that, and I respect him for helping Dina and Ellie get out of there to go do this, right? Now we fast forward, right? We've got the whole shit and caboodle that happens before they hit the theater, right? They get put down in that area in the, you know, in the spores and shit, and they're like, oh fuck, you know, masks on and shit. And then, you know, Ellie's breaks, so Dina's like, hold up, like, we can switch back and forth, like, you know, let's do this shit. And she's like, no, I'm immune, like, chill out, you know what I'm saying? And the only thing I liked about the show's way of doing it is the way that Dina reacted, right? I think in a sense, the game feels more like Dina, and that's probably because that's what I played. But from the beginning, Dina seemed that very helping, very concerned character, right? Like she's very concerned about your well-being, you know, yada yada yada. But in the show, they gave her more of like, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. But I like the fact that she's like, I'm going to hold you at gunpoint. And like, honestly, in my head, right, if that was me, or like, you know, what I think should have happened in that scene is that like, after a minute of her not turning, right, or whatnot, like, she should have been a little bit more relaxed. And I hated the way that they like announced that she was pregnant, and the way that Ellie in the show reacted. The game felt way more realistic in that scenario. And I mean, like, it's a shitty thing to do, yes, but I feel that the way that Ellie reacted to Dina being pregnant in the game is how most people would react. I feel that's how I would react, because like, I just dragged you through bullshit for 2.5 weeks to get here, and I find out you're pregnant. Like, come on, dude. You know, like, I understand it. It's very realistic. It's really the only way to describe it there. And now, as well, right, with the way that things played out in the show comparative to the game, it doesn't seem like Tommy is going to be a part of this journey, which makes me sad, because, like, for anybody who saw my playthroughs of the second game, y'all know I kind of had a place in my heart for Manny. Like, you know, if I was a WLF, like, if I was a wolf, I probably would have been friends with Manny. Not even gonna lie. The only thing about Manny, though, for the way he spit on Joel, he deserved what Tommy did to him. And it makes me mad that we are most likely not going to see Manny get fucking capped. Ooh. By Tommy. And this is what I think is going to happen. So, like, I'll make a little bit of an update if I'm right, and I might even make a post about this on TikTok. But I think that, one, so far in the show, Manny is Jordan. Jordan and Manny are the same, are like, Manny is Jordan in the show. And I believe that Manny will be the first character that Ellie will kill. Right? I know that we already saw the hospital, but there was that whole scene. And also, I didn't want to see Shimmer die. Don't get me wrong. Like, I am in a way glad that they're potentially keeping Shimmer alive, because they tucked her away and completely forgot about her. Like, but the fact of the way that things played out in the game, where they, you know, were riding on the horse, through the area, and then, you know, Shimmer got blown up, and then the homeboy capped Shimmer, and then, you know, they got captured, and then she, you know, ultimately ends up killing Jordan. That was fucking sick. And it makes me mad that we're probably not going to see that in the show. And, like, I get it, budget, you know, like, I don't know. Like, yeah, I'm just mad that they removed Jordan. I liked seeing him die, and, you know, when it comes to Manny's character, the only thing I'm glad about is that he didn't spit on Joel in the show. So, you know, he didn't spit on my boy Pedro. But, and on top of that, like, it seems like they removed the spores as well. I think I heard some people saying that they did. I don't know if it was confirmed, but it seems like they removed spores out of the equation, which is fucking insane because the spores are a huge part of the game. Excuse me. I can't speak tonight. Like I said, it's like 4:11 now. AM. Oh, I think I deleted that voice or that piece. Yeah, no, it's 4:12 in the morning. But yeah, you know, makes me mad. But in a way, I don't mind the way that they revealed that Ellie was immune in the show to Dina. But I feel that the game, once again, is more realistic. I'm going to probably end up keep saying that. But, like, the shock on Ellie's face when she realized her mask was broken, and then the panic from Dina, it just felt more real. And, like, honestly, I could see that happening in a real-life scenario like this. Like, honestly, you know, Now, that basically was the end of the episode. And okay, and going back again, I don't like the fact that they had Dina with Joel instead of Tommy, right? And I guess that's their whole point of making this a together journey. Wow, Dina and Ellie are going on this kill mission together now. Wow. No, I don't care. I don't... what hater out here... What haters out here was talking about, like, oh my god, both Ellie and Dina should have been on this whole mission together. Meh, 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 meh. No. It's realistic. And for at least a little bit, she has Jesse before he's like, yeah, nah, I ain't a part of your shit. You know? Which is, in a way, realistic, too. Like, he's got one goal in mind, and that's getting Tommy back home safe. And Dina, obviously, and, like, hopefully Ellie, but, like, Ellie's kind of on her own suicide mission, so he's kind of going to let her do what she's going to do, because there is no stopping her. You know? So, now, let me talk a little bit about how I think that the second game should have been restructured. Also, first, I was ranking these on TikTok. Season 1 got a 5 out of 5 Pedro Pascals from me, right? Episode 1 of Season 2 got a 4 out of 5 Pedro Pascals, but these last 2 episodes has gotten a 2 out of 5 Pedro Pascals out of 5 Pedro Pascals. Yeah, it's something. I just don't like the writing of the episodes, but that's just me. Now, with the way I think that the games should have been restructured, I think that we should have started off in Jackson, just kind of the same we did, but it should have been earlier, and kind of like what they were doing in the game, or in the TV show. They should have developed Jackson a little bit more. I know we weren't going to stay there long, whatnot, but it's part of the story progression, right? And it helps pacing. We should have seen more of Jackson. We should have been more a part of Jackson instead of it just being the starting point of our journey. I honestly think that we should have gone through some older scenes in Jackson, from about the point where, Joel starts teaching Ellie about, learning guitar and all this other stuff. and you know, she gets to go out on like hunts, and we get like that one scene where, you know, she's going through with him to get that guitar string. That would have been perfect for this opening scenario, right? You know, just kind of bouncing around, you know, just a tiny bit, you know. And then we get Abby, Seattle Day 1, right? And they're kind of shrouding what happens to Joel in you know, in this whole shroud of mystery. And we know they're after somebody. We don't know who it is, or we know that they did something to somebody or something, and there's kind of some conflict in their little group that they have, and you know, they're trying to figure everything out. And then, you know, it progresses a little bit more. There's that shit that happens between, you know, Abby and Owen, and you know, we get all this shit between the Seraphites, along with more story building around Abby, you know, making her to seem out like a good character, right? That has trauma she's trying to relieve from herself. But we obviously know that's not going to work. And this leads into, you know, half to 3/4 of the way through. You know, we've got, you know, like some scenes in Jackson with Ellie and Joel, Abby, Seattle Day 1. Let's say like Jackson to Seattle, Abby, Seattle Day 2, Ellie, Seattle Day 1, Ellie, Seattle Day 2. And at this whole point, right, we're probably about, you know, around this time, we're you know, roughly about 3/4 of the way through the game, right? And we know that Ellie is hunting these characters now, but we don't know why. You know, and like there's conversation with Joel, you know, about Joel between Ellie and Dina throughout this, but they don't talk about his death. It's just all shrouded in mystery, right? And then the next chapter starts, and you kind of get this flashback of her in Jackson. You get this whole scene in Jackson between the whole Seattle crew, and then bam, it happens, right? You know, like the whole thing, that whole interaction happens. You know, Abby starts, you know, hunting down that fucking crew they saw to get answers, and meh, you know, and then bam, Joel dies. And we cut back, you know, at like Ellie, Seattle Day 3, you know, and now we know why she's there. She's on this directive to, you know, kill them. She runs into Owen and you know, Owen and Mel, and there's that whole interaction. And here's where I want to change some things, right? And let me go back before I talk about that. Back in like, what was it? Abby, Seattle Day 2, we get that whole interaction with Manny and Tommy. That needs to be shrouded in mystery, and that chapter doesn't need to end with her pushing Tommy over the railing, or however it ends. I think that chapter needs to end with her starting to have that panic attack, you know, pressed up against that fucking vending machine or whatever she was pressed up against. You know what I'm saying? And then we cut to like Ellie or something. Right? Just shredding the whole thing in mystery. Now, I think that Mel should have survived. They were going with this whole, oh, she's pregnant thing. And they definitely did not play it off right. I think that they should have kept Mel alive. That Owen should have done some dumb shit, died, because Owen's a shitty fucking dude. Worst guy of the whole Seattle crew. Fuck that guy. I hate Owen more than I hate Abby. Like, fuck, dude. Fuck that guy. But, I think that he should have died. I think that Mel should have survived. Because, like, Ellie walked up into that, was like, you guys could survive this? Just give me Abby. And Owen decides to protect Abby over his pregnant wife or whatever. Pregnant girlfriend or whatever. I don't fucking know. Definitely think that's how that should have been. And then, you know, you kind of get, you know, and that would make sense why like, other than Lev telling her not to, right? It would make more sense for, like, she kind of has this rage moment, and then Lev's like, yada, 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 and she's like, well, you saved Mel, so, like, you know, she gets to survive too, like, yada, yada, yada. But I don't even think it should have gotten to that point. I think that Mel should have survived, right? And that there should have been some threat to Dina beforehand. And then this whole, like, fight scene between Ellie and Abby begins, right? And this is essentially the end game, right? I think that they still could have let you play Abby, right? But since Ellie mimics your playstyle, she will win that fight. And she wins it. Rather Lev survived or not. Honestly, and I feel bad about this because I did genuinely kind of like those two characters, right? Both Lev and Yara. But my only gripe with it, and the only reason, like, I think I said it in my original playthrough, but I was like, I don't give a fuck about these characters. Like, why am I seeing this? Why are we going through this? I don't care. Right? Are you trying to redeem Abby? Like, what are we doing here? But I understand what they were trying to do. Now. And I'll leave that up for your interpretation. I don't want to go into it. But I think that, you know, rather, like, I think that those two characters should have, in a sense, had a happy ending. In a way, neither of them really did. Maybe Lev. But for a while, it really wasn't. I think that all of Santa Barbara could have been avoided. I don't think we really needed any of that. I definitely didn't need any of it. I didn't care for it. But, like, yeah, they get into this scenario in the theater, right, where they're starting to fight. And I think that, you know, maybe Lev should have been knocked out, or, like, you know, ultimately ended up dying in a sense. I'm fine with Jesse dying. That, you know, like, I love Jesse, don't get me wrong, but I think that his death was necessary for Dina and Ellie's relationship to prosper. And I think that the whole scenes after that, I think that the scene with Tommy at the farm ruined Tommy's character. That was very out of character for him. I think that Santa Barbara also threw away, like, Ellie lost basically everything in the end. She wasn't able to play the guitar. She lost Dina. She lost her surrogate fucking kid. Like, she, in a way, ended up in the same place that Joel did for a long time. And a place that she forced Joel into, because she forced herself into that same place and being lonely, and, you know. And honestly, that's not how I wanted to see her character end. I know that her character was very naive, very careless, very spiteful, but in a way, characters like that will end up in that place. And in a way, it is what it is. But I just think that Ellie did, in a way, deserve a happy ending. She deserved more than what she got. And honestly, like, the whole farm thing should have been just to show that, like, you know, they're happy now and everything is better and life can go on. I don't think that Abby needed a happy ending. I think her character deserved to die. And I think that that's where the conflict needed to lie. I think the conflict needed to lie in who survives and who dies. And, like, obviously they can't make it a choice, because in a way, some of the main premise of The Last of Us 2, in my mind, is that no matter what, we're all the same. And revenge does not bring solitude. Both characters, in a way, got almost what they wanted. but didn't feel the release or the gratitude or any feeling that they needed to feel in those moments. And I feel like in Santa Barbara, that's why Ellie let Abby go with Lev, because she was literally just going to do the same thing to Lev that Abby did to her, that Joel did to Abby, right? But it all comes down to where we put ourselves, right? Because if you look at Jerry, right, Abby's dad, Jerry was also very naive. Joel did what was right in that scenario. See, Jerry was a general surgeon. Jerry had no experience, no training, no necessary whatever he needed to perform whatever he needed to do to Ellie. And honestly, they ran blood tests and found traces of the cordyceps in her blood. Why can't you synthesize a cure from that? Right? Why did he feel the need to literally take her brain out and harvest it? They threw away every chance they had in the moment they decided that Jerry would do his job pre-outpost or pre-apocalypse, pre-outbreak, and just do surgery on her. Like, it blew my mind, right? And then on top of that, they were going to kill Joel outside. They were going to take all his shit and gun him down outside the hospital. That's mainly why he did what he did. He wasn't willing to risk dying for something that most likely wouldn't happen, especially losing someone he views as family over something that genuinely probably would have never happened. And I will die on the hill that Joel was not in the wrong. Joel was 100% in the right. And like in the movie or in the TV show, like Abby saying, "You killed an unarmed man," is so fucking out of place. He wasn't unarmed. I know you may think that in your fucking mind, you with your dense ass fucking skull, Abby, but think. What about those other nurses that survived that whole interaction against Joel? But why didn't your dad survive? It wasn't because he was the fucking surgeon. It wasn't because he was the fucking doctor. If homie would have stepped aside, he wouldn't have died. If homie would have just left, he would have survived. And Abby still would have had her dad. Okay? But he didn't. He decided to grab a shitty little fucking scalpel against a man with 40 fucking guns. And he paid the fucking price. As simple as that. As simple as that. And it shows the naivety in all of them, in a way, between both games, how naive we all can be. Because, you know, she decided to go after a man who essentially did the right thing just because she wanted to feel validated. She wanted to feel you know what I'm saying. But in the end, it all ended the same. And I mean, even in real life, it will always end that way. Don't kill out of revenge. It's not the way to do things. It's not. And I do think that Abby was 100% in the wrong. And I do feel that that deserves death. And I feel that the way that they disrespected Joel, especially after doing what he did, it just doesn't fit. And most of those characters got what they deserved. And, like, in a way, I don't think Lev should have been involved in Abby's stuff. And honestly, if they were going to make a third game, it shouldn't be about Abby and Lev. It should be about Lev. Like, there, you know, when we get towards the end, right? Like I told you, I think that the second game should have ended in the theater. I know it would have cut the game by like 4 hours, but cool, whatever. I think that Abby should have made Lev stay behind. I think that... Right, so this is how I want to play it out in my mind. When she goes to the theater, I want it to be to where you get this whole interaction with the Rat King, right? And this is like before we see Joel's death, in my mind, right? We get this whole scene with the Rat King. She gets this shit for Lev, or for Yara, right? This whole shit with Yara happens, and then, you know, we get like the whole like Seraphite Island shit. We literally see the downfall of everything happen. We see Yara end up dying. You know, the whole 9 yards, right? We get back to the one place and realize that, you know, and Abby realizes that Owen's dead, and that, you know, Mel's like, hey, you know, they left this map. If it helps you with anything, like, I fucking hate you, but like, go take care of business, I guess. Right? Because she fucking hates her. She's gonna try and send her into her death. Why not? Right? She's the reason her husband just got, or her like husband or boyfriend or whatever just got killed. So like, send her into her death, right? And she's all like to Lev, like, hey, like, Owen was talking about, you know, shit going down in Santa Barbara with fireflies. Like, how about you get out? Like, stay here, wait for me. If I don't come back, head to Santa Barbara. Like, if I'm not back in like 2 or 3 days, head, you know, dip to Santa Barbara type shit. And that's exactly what happens, right? But it's something we don't really get to see, if that makes sense. So like, Abby goes to the theater by herself without Lev. Whole interaction happens, right? Tommy jumps Abby, right? This commotion causes both Jesse and Ellie to run out of the auditorium, right? In this moment, in the struggle, the gun goes off, killing Jesse, right? That shocks the shit out of Tommy, which gives Abby the upper hand. She do what she do to him, right? Right? And then a whole fight ensues between Ellie and Abby. And then, you know, ultimately, Abby dies, in my mind. Ellie and everybody else gets to go back to Jackson. You know, we pick up in the farm. We get to see that Dina's kid is born, that shit's going well. You know, she kind of has her little shit go down. She comes back. Tommy's there. He's like, yo, shit's good. What's going on? You know, they kind of, you know, hug it out, reminisce for a second, and then bam, that's the end of the game. You know what I'm saying? And then that sparks conversation for a third game, which could ultimately entail Lev's story. Because Lev was genuinely a likable character. And, you know, I would honestly play a story of him, you know, making his way to finding the fireflies and whatever he may encounter on the way. And, like, maybe they build some story around it and whatever. And I don't know. I think that would entail for a good third game. Personally, I really don't care to have Abby in any part of it. And that leads me to my final thoughts here. I do want to say, though, that with both the game, well, with the second game, they wanted to show us that we are all the same at the end of the day. That we're all doing stuff for ourselves and the ones that we love. And most of us are just trying to survive, right? But giving the most loved character of the entire thing a death 2 hours in by a character you're trying to build to be at least somewhat likable made her hated and the villain of the story. And the TV show leans into that harder. They have villainized the whole Seattle crew so bad. So bad. Like, it's not even funny how villainized they are in the show. Like, I don't want to see their faces until it gets time to kill them type shit. Like, I don't care to learn anything about the Seattle crew for the TV show. And that sucks to say because they all have, like, there's so much there. There's so much there to build on. But they already fucked it up. They already fucked it up. And, like, out the gate in episode 1, they were making Abby out to be the villain of the story. They're like, we gotta kill Joel. She's like, I'm going after Joel. He's going to die. And it's like, bro, shut the fuck up. And then, like, I felt so disgusted by that monologue that they just let her have. She didn't need that. She didn't. Cut that shit out. Like, god damn. And genuinely, episode 2 felt like episode 4 or 5. Like, through and through. Yeah. Unfortunately, great success most of the time doesn't happen twice. And in this case, it definitely didn't. They flopped so hard with both the second game and season 2. And I was praying for season 2. But deep down inside, I knew this was how it was going to be. And honestly, it's worse than what I thought it was going to be. I hate to say it, but it is worse than what I thought it was going to be. And I guarantee you that Tommy is not going to leave Jackson. He's not going to join the Seattle hunt. I guarantee you Jesse is. And I think he's still going to die. Because that's the only logical step. Also, what the fuck was with the whole shit? I'm gonna be a dad. Wow. Jesus. It's too unrealistic. But yeah. Anyways, that's all I have. Hopefully one day, some way, somehow, somebody could convince Neil Druckmann, or just Naughty Dog since they own the IP, to completely revise part 2 and make it better. I would also hope it'd be soon so we could keep the same voice actors and everything. Because, I mean, technically you could reuse a lot of the lines. They're just needs to be switched around. Obviously, certain things can't be said. Oh well. And, like, I get it's still going to be in everybody's mind what happens. I know everybody's still going to know what happens. I know that everybody's still going to be preemptive of what happens. But at least you're rectifying the problem more than making it worse like what they're doing with the show. And in a way, I wish that I could have a voice or say in what happens with this just because of how much I love it. Like, honestly, I don't think anybody loves The Last of Us more than I do. I'm not even joking. Like, I know I don't have all the memorabilia. I know, like, I don't have half the shit that most people have. But, I mean, that's literally only because of money. But I wish I had a say. I wish I had a choice. If I could go back and have the game the way that, you know, in a way that I, you know, described it and laid it out the way that I think it should have been laid out here, I wouldn't want to leave that universe. Like, if I would change that. I would go back and have it the way that I want it. I would even go as far as erase my memory of the original second game and the original second season, just to be able to experience the game that I want to experience it. Essentially for the first time. And it hurts my soul really bad that both the second game and the second season both suffer from poor plot structure and poor writing. And I mean, like I said, the writing wasn't the issue, it was the plot structure. But for season 2, it definitely comes down to the writing. The directing's pretty alright, the acting's amazing, everything else. Except for the plot points, the plot structure and writing. And I just wish I could have it like this instead of having it how I have it. And I hope that people agree with me with the way that I feel it should have been laid out. I would have rather had the mystery. That's how you make drama. That's how you build up a story. That's how you create anticipation. Like, yeah. But anyways, I'll stop rambling. I hold so much love for these games. And I'm still working on The Last of Us 2 Remastered, but yeah, I just wish that it could be different. I wish I was in a universe where it was laid out the way I described it here. Like I've been saying. I just can't get over it. And I probably never really will. Yeah, but yeah, thank you guys so much for thank you guys so much for listening. This normally isn't my normal content. I normally do gaming, obviously, for anybody who's been around. For any new people, I normally do gaming. I just really had to get this off my chest, and I believe I either did or tried to make a video about this like 2 years after the game released, but I don't know if I posted it or not. But I really had to just talk about it again, especially with the way that season 2's going. Like, I love Neil Druckmann, I support Neil Druckmann, but you didn't take your time. I feel that both the game, I feel like the game was rushed, and season 2 is trying to curate the haters. I don't even know why people try to curate the haters. It's not even the hate. You gotta listen to the people that love it. You know what I'm saying? You're building something for the people who love it, for the people who care about it, not for the people who hate it. They may watch it, but honestly, I feel like you guys are just making it worse. And you're turning fans away, too. Like, it just sucks. And like, with the game, with Joel's death in the game, it shocked me really bad. Like, honestly, like, I didn't start crying at first, but I broke down into tears. Like, it took my brain a minute to be like, that just happened. And I literally cried. And every time I play the game, I tear up and I cry, and I just can't get over his death. It's just one of those character deaths that you just can't get over. You know what I'm saying? And for the show, half of that episode I was disconnected because not even 15 minutes into the episode, not even 8 minutes into the episode, I already knew that Joel was going to die in episode 2. And it made me pissed, and I didn't want to continue watching it. But I did. And I did not start crying until they played Through the Valley. Through Ashley. I didn't start crying until they played Ashley Johnson's cover of Through the Valley. That's what fucking broke me. Like, I was tearing up a little bit because, like, you know, I've been here before. It's very familiar. It just didn't hit my soul the same, in a sense. But what broke me was Through the Valley. It hit that spot. All those songs actually hold, like, one thing that really pisses me off is that they didn't get the rights to use those songs that they used, and that's why they're covered in the way that they're covered, and why they didn't release it on the set, why they didn't release any of them on the soundtrack when the soundtrack was released. That's why you had to go through and find them through third-party sources. That shit hurt my soul, because they got the rights for some of the songs for the show, but they took out some of the main key songs, like Future Days. Future Days was a huge connection between Ellie and Joel, and they stripped that out of the show, most likely because they just didn't get the rights to it, which hurts. Yeah, and like personally, what was the name of that song? One of those songs, the one song that Troy and Ashley did together. I wish I could remember the name of it right now. Fuck. I want that song played at my funeral. For fucking sure. I for sure I will stop for now. Yeah, those are my thoughts. I definitely think that they need to revise Last of Us 2. Yeah. Everyone stop hating on the cast. I fucking hate anyone who hates on the cast. If you hate on the cast of a show, like, it's like hate on the directors for casting that person, but no disrespect to the actor, right? Like Bella Ramsey, Caitlin Dever, Pedro Pascal, etc. don't deserve the hate that they are getting. And I hate that everybody was trying to recast Joel and Ellie for the second game. Like, I get it that they probably could have found somebody who looked older than Bella Ramsey, but Bella Ramsey is Ellie. Like, that's just where we're at. And I stick by Ashley Johnson with that. Ashley Johnson says that, believes that Bella Ramsey is the perfect member or the perfect person to play Ellie live action, and I agree with that. Like, it just sucks that the way that they changed Ellie in the second season and made her kind of, in a sense, like the black sheep and happy-go-lucky. Like, yeah, she was kind of the black sheep already, but like she fit in more. She, but it really didn't feel like that in the game. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this, make sure to hit that like button. If you guys are new here, make sure you subscribe. For new and old subscribers, make sure you ring that bell so you can stay up to date on anything I post. And with that all being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Sorry, this was supposed to be like a 20-minute video. It turned into like a fucking almost 50-minute video. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video, whatever I make. Bye-bye!